Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, so today I am here with, well, I'll be honest with you, it's my usual request. And my usual request is very simple. Stop buying Scarlet and Violet singles. Cool. You see, ladies and gentlemen, we're in that period right now whereby we have had pre-releases. Pre-releases have begun for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the TCG, but the real set is not out there. What that means is people have officially bought Scarlet and Violet cards. They have legitimately and legally bought Scarlet and Violet cards, and because they've legitimately and legally bought them, they're allowed to obviously sell on any ones they don't want. We're not talking about some kind of leak or anything like that. The cards are out there. But they're out there in very small numbers. People have gone to pre-releases and got their build and battle boxes, but generally speaking, there aren't that many cards out there. So you have the combination of gigantic hype with fairly low supply, and that makes the demand absolutely shoot through the roof and the prizes shoot through the roof. Now, my usual caveat here, this is friendly advice from your old pal Wassy. If you want to go and buy these singles, go and buy the singles. I ain't your dad, unless you're Daisy, Archie or Ruben, in which case, why are you watching my video? And Ruben, I mean, you can't even really understand this yet. And if you watch this in 20 years' time, hi. Bit weird you're watching this 20 years in the future. My point is, there are reasons to buy them. If you really want them now and you can afford it, brilliant. If you want to be among the first to grade them, brilliant. If you want to have the cards right now to play in real life, fine. But for the vast, vast majority of people, all you're doing at this stage is spending way, way too much money on cards, and that's kind of silly. Let's take Miriam as an example, yeah? Let's assume that Miriam is the gold standard, because honestly, right, when it comes to this, Miriam kind of is. Let's go and have a look at how much people are actually spending on Miriam. Yeah? Well, the top two listings on eBay right now are $304 and $350. One thing I find very instructive, and all this really does is just back up the point I'm making in this video, you'll notice that the $350 one has already been slashed from $500 to $350. That is quite dramatic, but I know what some of you are thinking at this stage. Come on, Wassy. Nobody's paying that kind of money for this card. You're right, but they're paying $250 all day long. Like the last three solds are $265, a best offer accepted on $275, and $255. Now, if you want Japanese Miriam, then this would be a phenomenal price. An absolutely phenomenal price. If you see the Japanese special artwork rare Miriam for $250, run, ladies and gentlemen, run like the wind. But the fact of the matter is, that's not happening. You're not getting that. What you're getting is people massively, massively overpaying for a card that just is not worth anywhere near this. Now, this is a new type of card. It's a special artwork rare, and I suppose at this stage, we don't know exactly how much it's going to end up worth. But what we can do is look at cards in the past. Let's take Serena. Serena was a fantastically popular card over in Japan. Very expensive. What happened when Serena came out over here? It started off after the pre-releases being sold for $125, and it's now a $40 card. So it is worth a third of what people were paying when the pre-release happened. And again, logic tells us that when we've got the pre-releases and the amount of stock actually out there is incredibly low, it's going to be higher than when the full set releases and a lot more people are selling them. But we can look at these supporters we've had in the past, and we've seen this happen over and over again. Take the Irida from Astral Radiance. When that was released, it was a $70 card. It's now a $23 card. And okay, neither of those cards had quite the hype that we see from Miriam here. But come on, ladies and gentlemen. Does anyone really believe that Miriam is going to end up higher than any of those cards? And significantly so? Like, Serena is probably the most expensive full art supporter we've got around at the moment. Does anyone actually believe that Miriam is going to be worth 6 times the most expensive full art supporter we've got at the moment? Really? Nah, ladies and gentlemen, not happening. The actual winner at the moment is Marnie. It's slightly more expensive than Serena. It's like a $50 card. But that, again, is a card that has actually been sneaking up over the past year. But we've seen that as low as $35. I don't have the pre-release numbers, unfortunately. This card is too old. But we've seen time and time again that these cards end up way, way too high. And it's honestly just kind of ridiculous at this point. Like, one of the super hyped cards recently was the gold Pikachu VMax. That was a very hyped card. People wanted that card. On release, it was a $45 card. It is now a $10 card. A $10 card! Yeah. That's kind of my point here, ladies and gentlemen. Because these cards very, very rarely keep their value. And honestly, it is very rare for any Pokemon card to not crash in value after release. I mean, let's take Umbreon VMax, for instance. The card in the Sword and Shield era. I saved a couple of images from around when this was coming out. And if we have a look in August 2021... that was about when the pre-releases were happening for Evolving Skies. This card was selling for around $400. If we have a look, a couple months later in November, it's down to a $200 card. Now, we know that it has since risen. It's now over a $500 card that's super duper expensive, etc. That's not my point. My point is that if you bought this on pre-release, you were spending $400, you could wait, I mean, honestly, less than 3 months, 2.5 months, and it plummeted to a $200 card. Now, it since then has started going up and up and up and up and up and all of that, but even Umbreon crashed in value after the pre-release when the set was out there. Now, there was a point you had to kind of buy it because it started going up again, admittedly, but if Umbreon can crash in value after the pre-release, relatively of course, then any card can. Anyone remember when the pre-release price for Lugia V was a $400 card? Yeah, it's $185 now. And admittedly, $185 is still an awful lot for a card. My point is, it is less than half of what people were paying at pre-releases. And you'll notice here, I have been showing you basically exclusively really high-end cards that had a whole bunch of hype around them. And you'll notice that every single one I have been able to show you, oh yeah, no, it crashed in value. Yeah, no, it properly crashed in value. The Giratina V alternate art, sure, that's going up now. But what we saw was, on release, it went down from 270 to about 215, a sizable drop, and then started going up again. Now, this is a bit of the question I can't really answer, and for that I apologise. I don't know when you should start buying it, because that is something on which we don't have a clear pattern. The pattern is very clear. We will see a drop in price of all of these cards. It's going to happen. I just can't tell you exactly when they're going to start going back up again. And that's where you pay attention, and you either have to make a judgment call or you have to buy it when it starts going up in price. So I can tell you for the Giratina, we saw a little bit of a jump around about the 3rd or 4th week in October before it really jumped up in price, and that was the point to go and get it. And if you were paying attention, you would have seen the small jump in price and been able to jump on it before it went up, because the high-level cards often do. Now, what about the real exception? What about Giratina V-Star? That one went up after the release. Although it's a very different situation because, of course, there was no pre-release for Crown Zenith. And when there's a pre-release, it's really simple. We see price drops after the pre-release. Even this Giratina, we saw that it, well, has fallen dramatically since release. Took a few weeks, I'll admit, but it then started dropping like all of the others. So what about these cards in Scarlet and Violet then? Well, I've already shown you the special art rare of Miriam, but what about Miraidon? That's a special art rare that everybody's going crazy for. Well, if we have a look at the last couple of solds, we've got 130, 150, and best offer accepted on 150. So that tells us it's not going to be a $150 card. And sure, I've already shown you that both Lugia and Giratina got above that, but that's Lugia and Giratina. Miraidon is not that popular, and although it is a lot more playable, we've also seen that, although to be fair, it's not more playable than Lugia, it is more playable than Giratina, one could argue, but the point is, playability when it comes to the high-end cards doesn't really come into it too much. Like, the card I really want from the set is Penny. Penny is a card I'm very excited about from the set, and this is one, I mean, the last few souls are all around $50. I want this Penny, and I can't afford the Japanese version of this Penny. Am I going to pay $50 for this card? No! I'm going to wait a few weeks, and I'm going to buy it for $20. I could be wrong, of course. Special art rares are somewhat uncharted territory, but again, if a card like Serena, crazy popular character, crazy playable card, can't get above 40, and this is at about 50 on release, then no, I am not paying near 50 for this card. I feel extremely confident that I am going to be able to get this just significantly cheaper. And I'm very excited about this. God of War EX is another one that people are getting very excited about. The alternate artwork of that is absolutely gorgeous. What do we see when we put this into eBay and go and have a little bit of a gander? It's selling for, it's hovering around $100. We've seen 85, best offer on 130, best offer on 115. So about $100. It's cool. It's God of War, and it's a playable card. But if it's selling at 100 now, we can all imagine what's going to happen as we go down. Remember, the alternate art of Charizard. And I think it's fair to assume that Charizard V is a very popular card. The kind of card that an awful lot of people want to get and want in their collection. If the alternate art of Charizard is a $170 card, I think it's fair to assume that these other cards, unless they're truly special, are not going to be approaching $170. As I said at the start of the video, if you really want to go and buy these cards now, go and buy these cards now. It's not up to me, ladies and gentlemen. It's up to you. My point is very simply, these cards are going to see, almost universally, a fairly dramatic drop in price. We're not going to see a small drop in price. Most of these are going to drop by a lot. At least half, maybe a lot more. I'm expecting Penny to end up as a $20 card, maybe a $30 card. So there is absolutely no way I am going to be picking this up for $50 now. I can wait, we'll be fine. And the other thing is, and I've shown you this on many occasions at this time, don't use Japanese cards as a price guide. Use Japanese sets as a guide for relative value, i.e. you can look at a Japanese set and go, these are going to be the most expensive cards in the set. That will work. What you can't do is look at a Japanese set and go, oh, it's a $400 card in Japan, it's a $400 card in English. We've known for a long time that is not how it works. So sorry, ladies and gentlemen, don't be buying these cards. If you want to sell your cards, now is actually a great time to sell your singles. If you've got singles to sell, now is a great time to offload them. But you got to find someone who will actually willing to pay, which probably someone who doesn't watch my videos, because I think it's fair to say that, yeah, it's hopefully going to be a bit more difficult. And I know there are some people who are like, why do you need to make this video after every set reveal, Ross? Well, I've just shown you a bunch of examples on eBay. People are still massively overpaying for these cards on release, and that means, ladies and gentlemen, that my work here is far from done. Right, there we go. That's what you need to know, and now it's over to you guys. Tell me which cards you're looking forward to getting from Scarlet and Violet, and tell me how long you're going to wait and what you think you're going to end up paying. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk Pokemon card games, Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, all kinds of fun stuff. Oh, and get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Oscar Parades, who is one of our supporters and is a very lovely person. So thank you very much for the support and for being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.